First, thank you everyone for joining us for the Finding Part-Time Employment Workshop. This is the summer edition of the workshop that we typically host during the fall and spring semester. However, with this being the summer edition, we're going to discuss specifically how to find employment opportunities for the summer. So just going into introducing your host, I am Christine Addo. I am the Student Employment Coordinator at the AU Career Center. And then Ben, you all can introduce yourself.
Sure. Howdy, folks. Sorry that my microphone's a little quiet, but my name is Ben. I am a peer advisor with the AU Career Center, so I'm also an undergraduate student.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isabella Goris, or Bella. I work in the university library as an administrative service and student employee specialist. I'm also a graduate student.
So to provide a general outline of how this workshop will go, first, we're going to discuss how to prepare for the summer employment opportunities that you will eventually apply for. Then we're going to discuss different areas and avenues you can look to apply for part-time positions in the summer or for the summer. And then we're going to close up with how to follow up with these positions if you do not hear back. So to first discuss resumes, typically for a part-time position, you will only need to submit the private sector version of a resume, which is the limited to 1 to 2 pages resume. And it will include a brief summary of your work experiences and your qualifications. So that is those bullet points of specific experience that you have. And these private sector resumes have to be, or it's better to be, catchy and easy to scan by an HR professional. And this is because most people typically go by the 6-second rule, which research has found that many HR professionals or hiring managers typically take on average 6 seconds to look over your resume. So with private sector resumes, it's important that your resume is brief and limited to 1 to 2 pages, because if you include important information towards the end of your resume, it's possible the hiring manager may not see that when they're scanning over hundreds of resumes. So the important thing to note here is make sure that you keep your resume 1 to 2 pages and you have a resume that is easy to scan. So your work experience is clearly highlighted and your qualifications. If you are applying for a federal part-time position or a federal internship, it's also encouraged to use a private sector type of resume. However, if you are a student who has extensive experience in the field that you are applying for, it is okay for you to use the federal style of a resume, which is multiple pages long. Typically, this is 2 to 3 pages, and it would include a detailed description of your work experience and qualifications. So it can include things such as your honors, any trainings, certifications, languages, travel, special accomplishments, volunteer work, community service, awards, and professional affiliations. And again, this is only relevant if you are a student who has extensive experience in the field that you are applying for. Otherwise, it is perfectly fine to use the private sector style resume. Next, we're going to go over cover letter, and the cover letter is pretty universal, no matter if you're applying for a private sector part-time job or a federal. So the important thing is to make sure that you target each cover letter to each position that you are applying for. A common misconception with students is that you can use one cover letter and use that cover letter for every position that you are applying for. However, in HR, that is a big no-no. Make sure that you are targeting each cover letter for each job that you're applying to. So that means you have to write a new cover letter for every job that you're applying to. So this requires you to read the job description and make sure that you are aligning what the job requires with the skills that you currently have. And we have career center advisors who can help you figure out if you are a student who possibly is doing a career change, or you're interested in working in a field that's not related to your experience. You always have transferable skills. So if you need help figuring out which skills are transferable and how to align it with the jobs that you are applying with, your career center advisors are one of the best resources for you to go to. So bullet point 1 is just make sure that you're targeting your cover letters to each position. Next, research the organization. HR professionals and HR hiring managers like to see that you've done research on their organization. That helps them know that you've actually looked into their organization and that you're not just applying to as many positions as you can, even though that's good because it's good to apply to as many positions as you can, but just make sure that you research each organization because that shows them that you've done your research on them, you know their mission and their values and the goals of the organization. And this helps you out in your cover letter because it also allows you to explain how your interests may align with the organization. So if you're a student who is interested in sustainability and you're applying for an organization that is whose mission is sustainability, you can align your interests and the goals of the organization in your cover letter. And then lastly, include specific, third step, include specific information about your skills and experiences that match the needs of the employer. So it is important to include skills that are directly relevant to the position that you are applying for. And this is important because with cover letters, often students can use general phrases to describe their experiences and skills. However, the cover letter is where you will specifically align your skills with the needs of the employer. And then keep it brief. Your cover letter shouldn't be more than a page. Typically is less than a page, and proofread it multiple times to check for any misspellings or grammar issues. And the next slide is just information about different career centers. So we do have 3 career centers that can help you out if you need someone to proofread your either your resume or your cover letter, or if you just need career advising. We have the AU Career Center, which is the office that I work out of, and Ben. And then we have the COGOD Office of Career Engagement and the School of International Service. So we do encourage you to speak to your career advisor if you just need any guidance on employment or to update your resumes and cover letters. And I do see that we have a hand up. If you have any questions throughout this workshop, please feel free to use the Q&A feature with Zoom, and then we'll answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So now we're going to move on to the apply portion of this workshop, and this section will discuss different opportunities for students and different places to look for part-time positions. First, we're going to discuss federal work-study positions, and then we're going to go to on and off-campus positions. So for federal work-study positions, these positions are for students who, so there's qualifications. You cannot be, unfortunately, a graduating senior. So for federal work-study, you cannot be a graduating senior and you have to be eligible for FWS. And this is typically determined by financial aid. They look through your financial aid package and see if you are eligible. What happens in the summer is you can, if you do see a position that you are interested in that is only FWS, what you can do is reach out to us and we can work with financial aid to see if there's any way they can rearrange your aid to allow for FWS. And the other thing is, if you are a graduate student, it's a little bit different for you because it depends on how much aid your actual school has. So for graduate students, if there are any graduate students in here, if you want to know if you can get FWS, you have to reach out to your school's department and see if they have FWS budgeted for you as a graduate student. And you'll just let us know, and then we'll work with financial aid. But with summer FWS, you can work up to 40 hours, and the awards are generally a lot larger than in the fall and spring, which a lot of students don't know. So you're limited to a small award typically. And so for my program specifically, I do public service work study. I manage this program out of the Career Center, and we have nonprofit partnerships with nonprofit and government organizations such as Kid Power, Raising a Village, Care USA, and the National Air and Space Museum. So we work with partners such as those, and these organizations are specifically for students who are interested in human rights, education policy, community development, social services, sustainability, and in the arts. However, we do have positions for anyone who has any type of interest. And our positions are remote and in person. So we do have positions that cater to many different students. Oh, and also I should add, if you are looking for public service work study positions, these positions are on Handshake. So once you get to Handshake, you would just search FWS and you should see the positions that we have available. If you are not a student who has typically been awarded FWS, you may not see those positions listed. So at the end of this workshop, I will send a list out of our partners and the positions that we have available in the summer to see, so that you can look over and see if you would be interested in our positions. And if you are, the application for summer FWS is open. So if you do believe that you would be open to working in the summer with public service work study, just let me know. And I'll include my email at the end of this workshop. And then we can work to see if there's any way to get you on for public service work study. Next, we have DC Reads. DC Reads is primarily for students who are interested in tutoring or after school literacy. So DC Reads is an umbrella of collaborative off-campus literacy programs that provide quality tutoring to children in need. It is a joint effort between American University, AU students, DCPS, and community-based organizations such as Latin American Youth Center, Jubilee Housing, Reading Partners, and Life Pieces to Masterpieces. And with DC Reads, if you are someone who's interested in working with tutoring students, you would apply via Pulse Secure. And when we send this presentation out to everyone, we'll include the links to all of these positions and opportunities so that you can easily get to them. And then now we have the library.
Hi again, y'all. So at the library, we have federal work study and non-federal work study positions available. So the greatest thing about the library is that we're one of your only jobs that will have you prioritize your schoolwork over work, but at the same time, gain the necessary skills you need to advance your professional skills. We have a lot of room for advancement in the library. Most of our full-time and part-time positions are filled out by former student employees. For positions that are available this summer, we are limited. Technical Services is currently hiring, I believe, 2 to 3 positions for processing books as they come into the library. But what we do over the summer is we do try to start the hiring process for our fall start. So I would recommend for anyone looking for a position in the library over the summer and perhaps in the future, whether you be a graduate student, senior, I would recommend going into the job site and putting in alerts for the library specifically, which you guys all have the access to do, to put alerts for any sort of student jobs, and specifically put one for the library to be on the lookout for open positions as they come in. Being that we are federal work study and non-federal work study, that does mean international students and graduate students are able to apply. Thank you.
Yeah, and further, there are some other opportunities, right? Other chances for employment over the summer, and most of these come in the form, or many of these, I guess, aside from federal work study, right, and jobs through American University, come in the form of private employers. The 3 tools that we recommend to best find summer private employers is Handshake, Quad Jobs, and our summer resource map. So I'll get into those each a little bit. So Handshake is a great resource. It is a career development resource that allows you to do everything from learn to build your resume, build your cover letter, improve your cover letter and your resume, as well as also applying for jobs, finding the qualifications and the skills that you need in order to apply for jobs. Handshake has a list of jobs that are eligible and that you are eligible for, and matches you with those jobs depending on your resume and cover letter as you upload them to the platform. It also has a lot of great options, right? Search options that we can elaborate further should we need to, that allow you to apply for full-time jobs, that allow you to apply for part-time jobs, depending on what you're looking for. So Handshake is a great resource for that. Quad Jobs is another great resource specifically targeted to students. So Quad Jobs is a lot of what we would call gig economy jobs. Jobs that are local and community based, right? So jobs like a local babysitter, jobs like a dog walker, jobs like a nanny. These are jobs that are made exclusively for AU students. And so as you sign in, when you sign up with Quad Jobs, you identify that you are in the at least relative proximity to American University, and employers through that platform will reach out to you, and you can reach out to them to try and find jobs. We've had students in the past make great connections with neighbors in our community, and being where we are in DC, there's a lot of great people to know, and those people can help you find other jobs further on in life. So Quad Jobs is great both for finding a place of employment that might be a little more relaxed than, say, a corporation, and for meeting new people. So Quad Jobs is a great resource. Our third resource, and this is new this year, is our summer resource map. So if you log into your Handshake account, there is a resource map, or if you come up to the AU Career Center where Christine and I are, we spend most of our days, there is a QR code in which you can scan that has a map of local jobs in and around AU, depending on the community that are hiring. So these are separated into multiple communities. So Cathedral Heights, for example, Glover Park, Spring Valley, New Mexico Avenue over there, Tenleytown, all of these, Van Ness, all of these communities have a lot of employers hiring, right? Cava, Whole Foods, Giant, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, right? All of these employers need people to work over the summer, and they're always happy and interested in hiring students. So you can use that resource page to find jobs. That will be regularly updated. It has been updated this year for this summer, but it will be updated in future summers in order for you to use that. So those are great if you are within the immediate proximity to campus for finding private employers.
Great. And if anyone doesn't know, there is a Wegmans that is opening across the street. So if you are interested in working at Wegmans, they are desperately looking for AU students to work over the summer. And then, so also now I want to quickly share my screen to show, let me see if I can quickly do it. Show how to use Handshake, because to my knowledge, a lot of students are on Handshake, but aren't really using it. So I'm gonna quickly show some important considerations for using Handshake to make sure that you're not limiting your options accidentally. Can you actually, can you all see Handshake? Okay, good. So the important thing for students who aren't on Handshake, I want to show you what you are potentially missing out on. So right now, if you go onto Handshake, you'll see there are 22,000 jobs currently on Handshake. So if you're not on Handshake, just full-time internships in general, there's 22,000 jobs on there. And these are employers who are specifically looking for AU students. These aren't positions that are just like on Indeed or anything. These are employers who are specifically looking for AU students. So if you want to filter specifically for part-time, if you are a graduating senior, you may want to include also full-time. But for students who are specifically looking for part-time jobs, the important thing to know is that when you're filtering, make sure that you only click one job type at a time, because as you can see, if you click part-time and then internship, it will drastically limit your options to only part-time jobs that are internships. But if you just leave your filters, if you just leave the filter to part-time, as you can see, the number increases. So that's one important thing to know, is when you're looking for these part-time jobs on around campus and on around campus, make sure that you are only limiting it by part-time. And also you'll see if you combine the two, full-time, part-time. Well, actually, this one shows you everything, but if you hit like part-time and internship, it'll limit your options. And then the next thing I want to show you is, if you are a student who is interested in certain industries, you can filter by specific industries. And this one will not limit your your results. So you can select as many industries as you want. I know a lot of our students are interested in working with the government. And as you can see, if you filter by part-time and by government, there's 131 students here. 131 positions here, and there's only 44 students here. So there's more than enough positions for everyone here. So just make sure when you're using Handshake, you are using the correct filters. And as you can see, there's many different jobs on Handshake. It just depends on if you know how to actually filter for these jobs. So I just wanted to quickly show you that. So I'm gonna stop. There you go.
Perfect. Thanks, Christine. So building off of that, there are also other resources you can use to find part-time jobs or full-time jobs that make it easier to find things and gain the skills to find things, depending on what you're interested in, right? So we already identified Handshake. Big Interview is another great resource that the AU Career Center offers. Big Interview is an AI platform, so it's all online. And what it is a computer, right, with a recorded person, a paid actor, that prepares you for a job interview or an internship interview, for whatever it be, right, whether in the government, whether in the private sector, whatever. And it asks you different questions in order to prepare you, help you think of ideas when you're in those interviews, and it gives you tips on how you can improve your interviewing skills, right? So it will say, because it records your face and your voice, it'll say, hey, you're using too many filler words, or hey, you're moving your hands around too quick. Big Interview will identify those things to help you get those jobs. Going Global is another great resource. This is particularly good for international students. So Going Global has a list of jobs and internships that are compliant with your visa status. So if you are an international student studying in the United States, you might have specific requirements through your visa. You can use Going Global to sort by those requirements. Employers are also keenly aware that they might have folks of different origin, right? And so they want to comply with laws and rules regarding visas. And another great resource we have is there is an office specifically on campus, ISSS, that is dedicated to helping international students find jobs, find internships that are compliant with their resources. So if you're interested in finding a part-time job, full-time job, an internship, and you're an international student, we would very much recommend you work with ISSS, Going Global, and these resources that we listed here, as well as your employer, to find what you are able to do depending on your status here in the United States. So Going Global is a great resource for that. Listserv, right? I'm going to skip over one. Listserv is another great. Listservs are created by the different schools. So for example, Washington College of Law has an alumni listserv full of weekly job postings for people interested in law, let's say. We would recommend, if you're interested in finding other listservs, talk to your school, whether that's the School of Public Affairs, whether that's School of International Service, College of Arts and Sciences, right? All of them have their own career resources, and so they might have a listserv that they can connect you to. And finally, LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a great resource because it gives you the skills necessary to succeed in jobs, right? So many jobs, especially in DC, are within a professional sphere, right? So you might need the skills of customer service or of working with Microsoft Excel or Zoom. LinkedIn Learning will teach you those skills and provide you with a certification to prove that you do have those skills. So that's another great resource that we recommend. All of these are included with your tuition when you pay to AU. So we really recommend that you utilize these resources because you're already paying for them. So might as well use them, right? That's my philosophy, at least. So that's a few of our resources. One more resource that we have, and Christine, if you want to flip to the next slide, is AlumniFire. So AlumniFire is a great resource. It is very similar to LinkedIn, except it is only for the American university community, right? So LinkedIn, right, has people from all over the world, all kinds of different backgrounds. AlumniFire is different. It is only the AU community that is a part of it. So AU professors, past and present, AU students, past and present, some faculty, some parents or family members, right? AlumniFire is restricted to the AU community, and it can create, it allows you to create personal relationships with folks who are hiring, right? Or who are in positions that you would be interested in attaining in the future. So you can search right? Employers to find alumni who might be able to connect you to hiring managers. Sometimes they post jobs on AlumniFire. This is less frequent, but you can find actual jobs. You can search the job board. You can connect it to your LinkedIn account, and you can search out individual members. So AlumniFire is a great resource for seniors and for graduates and law students, but also for all students. I use AlumniFire pretty regularly. I'm an undergraduate student, and it's been very helpful for me in my career development. So we would really recommend using that as well. And again, you already have access to it, so we would recommend that you use it.
Sorry,
Christina,
we
I think
skipped this slide. Just quickly backing up, I wanted to highlight 2 programs that reached out to AU and are specifically looking for AU students, and these are both part-time positions. So we do have the Urban Adventure Squad. They are looking for program educators and squad leaders. It is approximately 20 hours per week, and it starts at $18 an hour, which is above minimum wage. So that's great. And then we have the Executive Office of the President Internship Program, and the Office of Administration and the Office of Management and Budget are looking for multiple interns. And this will be 35 hours per week, and there is a $6,000 stipend for the summer. And they are hiring for many different positions, so no matter your professional interests, specifically for the Executive Office of the President, they are hiring for different types of interns. So these are just 2 employers who have recently reached out to us at the Career Center and are looking specifically for AU students. And when I send this presentation out, I will have all of these positions linked so that you can quickly find them. So we're gonna go back past that. And so we're just going to conclude with just following up. When you apply for these positions, if you do not hear anything back, make sure that you follow up with the department. So it doesn't matter if it's both on campus or off campus. It's important, and it's also helpful to reach out to employers if you do not hear anything after a week. And specifically, not specifically for on campus, you do have a staff directory. So if you apply for a specific department and you don't hear anything back, you can use the staff directory to contact any staff members in that department and ask if they are the correct contact for that job, or if they can connect you with the correct contact, and you can directly communicate with that person to see the status of your application. And just know that each organization and each AU department hires differently. So your experience with one department or organization obviously will not be the same. So it's important to, again, follow up with any jobs that you apply for if you do not hear anything back. And then, so we are concluding. So I know that we are doing giveaways for this workshop. I just wanted to show you all some things that we are giving away. So for anyone who came to this workshop, you will be entered into a raffle. We are giving away at least 4 items. So at the conclusion of this workshop, we will do a raffle and put everyone's name in here. So it looks like we have about 44 participants. And I will email everyone who won the raffle. And so lastly, here are our contact information. Again, I am Christine. I am the Student Employment Coordinator. And we have Ben, who's a peer advisor. And we have Bella, who's Administrative Services and Student Employment Specialist. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. And it looks like we have 6 questions in the chat. So let's quickly go over those. So one question is, does the President Internship Program involve anything with STEM? So I don't believe I saw anything. Did you all get that email, Ben or Bella? No. No. Okay.
I looked over it briefly. I don't know that there's anything particularly specialized to STEM. A lot of it is political science related, right? So how the government actually works, but that has a lot of STEM features involved, right? So it might not be like, oh, hey, draw up a plan to, I don't know, something engineering related. I can't speak to that. But oftentimes it does reach into multiple subjects. So a STEM major might be a perfect fit for that position.
Yeah, and the positions were primarily, from what I saw, administrative based, so that can go towards any type of major. It isn't specifically catered to like one type of student. But I believe it's a good opportunity to look into. And we'll send that out to everyone here so that you can make your decision on if you think it's a good fit for you. And then, so we are sending these slides out via email. And another question is, where is the Wegmans going to be? So it's going to be up the street. Isn't it next to Chipotle and Chick-fil-A? Is that correct?
I believe so.
I think the store is built now. It's up the street. So I think it's probably like a 2-minute drive, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute walk. But I believe it's near Whole Foods, like in that vicinity.
There's also a couple of other Wegman locations, right? So there's one on New Mexico Avenue that's definitely within walking distance. And then there's one in Spring Valley that you can take the AU shuttle to get to. So a lot of options there.
Mm-hmm. And then the next question is, if you already have FWS, do you need to fill out the summer FWS application? So yes, you do have to fill out the summer FWS application. And this is because financial aid doesn't determine your eligibility until later in the summer. So students who are doing summer FWS, you kind of get in a head start. And I guess what also I should have mentioned this, your FWS in the summer doesn't affect your aid in the fall. So whatever you earn in the summer has nothing to do with how you're awarded in the fall and spring semesters. And it has, it won't impact, like if you earn all of your award in the summer, it won't impact your ability to earn what you would have already earned in the fall and spring. But yeah, so the application is just to see if you are eligible. It's dependent on your FAFSA, so you do have to complete your FAFSA for the upcoming school year. And if you, typically if you've been awarded FWS, if nothing has changed much in your, what's the word? Economic brain freeze. If nothing much has changed with your finances, likely you will be eligible again in the summer. And if you have any questions on that, you can again contact me and I can work with you through that process of finding that out. And question for the library: where do I go to apply to the various library positions?
So all positions available in the library are available through the student jobs portal. The fastest way that I've done it, if you would like to Google American University student jobs, takes you directly to the portal, the job portal, where you can set alerts, look specifically for keywords like library, and apply from there.
Thank you. And then another one, sometimes on Handshake, it feels that I am sending my information into the void. How do I personalize my approach? So I would say on Handshake, well, first, cover letter, make sure that your cover letter and your sometimes even your resume is tailored to the position that you're applying for. If you feel like you're applying to positions and aren't hearing back from the employers, typically on Handshake, you should see, when you scroll down the position, you can see a contact information, and that's typically the supervisor who is hiring for that position. So if you scroll down and where you see, I believe it says contact, that is someone who basically has allowed their information to be on that listing and basically is allowing you to contact them if you have any questions about their job posting. And Ben or Isabella, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think that's the best, is that if an individual is accessible, definitely reach out to them, ask them questions, right? That's always great. Handshake definitely can feel like you're entering it into the void. I certainly agree. But one of the great things about Handshake is that all Handshake does is it gets you a list, right? And then it's on you to fill out the application, right? Unfortunately, while we like to streamline it as much as we can, there is some legwork that you have to put in on your end. And so that might be, right, reaching out to those people individually. But yes, specializing it to the individual is the best approach.
Mm-hmm. And another thing is you can even, once you apply to a position, if you don't see a contact for the job that you're applying for, it's definitely appropriate to look up the job and look up their HR department and just reach out to someone in the department to see if they received your application. So you can say, I applied through Handshake. I just want to confirm that you received my application on your end. And that's just an easy way of connecting with the employer and then also expressing your interest in working with them. And then lastly, whether international students can find a job during the summer. Again, that's with going global that Ben discussed. Did you want to add anything else about that?
Sure, yeah. International students, there are plenty of opportunities for you. The only issue is that making sure that it is compliant with your visa, with whatever documentation you need to be within the United States, right? We've gotten questions about F1. We've gotten questions about like H6, I think is what the characterization is, right? There are tons of different ways. I do not, and you know, I don't want to speak for Christine and Isabella, but my guess is that we don't know. We can't tell you the rules for every single job. So if you are interested in working in the summer, speak out, reach out to ISSS. They are the office that coordinates all of that. And ask your employer, right? You can be like, hey, this is the kind of visa I'm on, or this is the kind of documentation I have. Is that accessible? The other great thing is about being in DC is we have the Department of State right downtown. So if you really get into a crunch, you know, you can contact them and find out exactly what you can do. So a lot of questions about international students, your jobs. Some government jobs are open. Some government jobs aren't open to international students. Some private jobs are, some private jobs aren't. Every employer is different. And so it is up to you to ensure that right, and you and that employer to make sure that you are all set with that documentation. So that's kind of the general suggestion for international students. Going global is a great resource, but if you are really interested, I would say find a job, reach out to the employer, or reach out to ISSS. And there you can just Google AU ISSS, and they will show up, and you can contact them. So that kind of answers all of those questions about that.
Yeah, and many jobs also on Handshake hire international students. They may not specifically say it in their listing, but many of them do. And sometimes they'll put it in their application that they accept like international visas. So just pay attention to the listings on Handshake. And even if you don't see it on Handshake, I would say, like Ben said, reach out to the employer and see if they hire students with international visas. And so again, don't let that deter you if you don't see that they, basically that point is don't let that deter you if you don't see something that says like we hire or sponsor certain visas. Just reach out to the organization and follow them. And so we have some more questions. How many applications should I send in a week? We say apply to as many jobs as possible. With on-campus and FWS, it's typically easier to get into those positions just because the pool is smaller. But for like off-campus jobs, I wouldn't put a week to it. I would just say apply to as many as possible, and you know, whichever one bites back, you know.
Yeah. For reference, I applied to 27 internships for this semester in order to get one. So, you know, you're gonna likely there's no magic number. You know, the first one you apply to might be the one that you work at. The 90th one that you apply to might be the one you work at. So there's no magic number.
And again, for the students that we saw or found that were sending in many applications and didn't hear anything back, at the Career Center, we did notice that there were certain areas on their resume or cover letter that should be improved. So if you are, again, one of those students who continues to send applications out and don't hear anything back, please visit your Career Center, because there may be something on your resume or cover letter, or even the way you're interviewing, that may be impacting like your success with reaching a position or gaining in a position. And LinkedIn Learning is free through AU, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm on LinkedIn Learning too as a staff, and I get everything free. So it definitely
through AU. there is a YouTube video on the AU Peer Advisors page that you can use to set it up through your AU account. So that I actually did. So if you want to hear my voice again, feel free to check that out.
And can you repeat that, where they can go to find that?
Yep. If you just search on YouTube for American University Career Center Peer Advisors, we will pop up right on there. And there's a page all about LinkedIn Learning and how you can access it through AU. So if you ever have any questions about that, consult our YouTube page.
Thank you. And then I believe the last question that we have is, can we update your resume and cover letter on Handshake? And yes, definitely you can update it as many times as you want. You can even, I believe, upload your resume, but also include your work experiences and qualifications directly on handshake.com. So please, if you need to update your information, because I as a student employment coordinator, I do see a lot of profiles that are incomplete, and that's a little disheartening. So please update your resume on Handshake. And how responsive are you guys to email? So we are, one question was, how responsive are you all to emails? I'm pretty responsive. I don't know if anyone else wants to answer.
I check it every 10 minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
So do I. An important thing to note is because AU peer advisors are all students after finals week, we are not working for the American University Career Center. So if you email us after that point, you'll just get an automated response that says, enjoy your summer. We'll get back to you in the spring semester. So if you have questions, please feel free. There are 5 AU peer advisors. Feel free to reach out to any one of us, or just type like for Ben in your subject line. And I work 3 days a week, so I'm always there, happy to help.
And also, if you contact the Career Center, we do have a front desk who triages different questions to all of us. So if you have a question that's not even related to what we're talking about and you just don't know who to go to, if you email the Career Center, oftentimes those questions come to me and I can figure out who it goes to. Feel free to email us. Either email our specific emails. You can reach out to me because I'm typically connected to other departments on campus. But if you also email the Career Center, we can triage your questions to find out who best can answer your questions. And the Career Center is very responsive. So you will definitely get a response by emailing the Career Center. And I believe that is all of the questions. Let me just double check before we close out. Yep. So thank you everyone for joining us for the Finding Part-Time Employment workshop. I hope we were able to answer all of your questions.